York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
Look at the bells. Holy crap, here comes Jesus, and he doesn't look too happy. Merry Christmas, everyone.
What's up, guys? New York Muscle Radio is flooding your feed with the 12 Days of Fitness Podcast, Day 5. We're bringing back all the classic episodes we've ever done, and in today's podcast, we give you guys our top 10 muscle building meals. New York Muscle Radio is flooding your podcast feed. What's up, guys? It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian. If you're a new listener, welcome to the best muscle building, fat burning, get your swole on radio show out there. Big guy, what's up, man? You ready to relive this top 10 muscle building meals?
Oh, nice. We're talking about food, man. I just finished eating myself, so food is definitely a good topic.
Yeah, I know. I waited for you for over a half hour. More than a half hour, almost an hour. What the fuck did you make?
Well, hold on. First of all, what time did we say we were going to record?
All right, we did say 9, but it's 9:25 right now, currently.
That is true.
And I asked you, I said, I'm ready to go. That was at
like
8:22. So 8:25, exactly an hour ago, I'm in the middle of cooking. Can you give me a clue? So, what's the story? What the hell did you make,
man, I can't give out all my secrets on here. You know, the way I eat, that's the secret behind the 18-inch biceps.
So what did you eat? You're still not answering the question.
I told you it's a secret.
It's a secret.
It's a secret. No, I was having I made some ground turkey tonight.
Oh, it's close.
It would have probably been ground beef if I had any left over, but I ate all my ground beef yesterday. I got to go food shopping tomorrow.
So what'd you have? So how did this take an hour? Your ground turkey, how much?
I had to defrost it too because I freeze a lot of my meat. So I was taking it out. It was in the process of defrosting it, cooking, and all that stuff. So it took a little while, and then I had to enjoy it. You know, I don't just scarf down my meals like you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of freezing your meat off, it's going to be snowing here in New York. I'm so freaking depressed, man.
We're supposed to get snow tonight, right?
Yeah. My wife told me, she's like, you better go get the shovel and the salt out of the shed. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, yesterday, I mean, today was very cold, but yesterday was like brutally cold.
Yeah, it's a wind that makes it so cold. I hate that.
Yeah, I told you I had some weights holding down my my table and my chairs in my backyard on my porch, and they froze to it.
Yeah, it's nuts. Ugh, I hate this. Every time this time of year rolls around, I'm like, why do I live in New York? Why do I live in New York?
Yeah, I know. Trust me. I think the same thing sometimes.
I may have to take Austin up on his us moving to Texas thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know what keeps me here? The pizza.
I can make my own.
That's about it.
I can make my own. Well, Austin, we'll move down to Texas with you, and we'll rattle up the cattle.
Yeah, I mean, if I get on, you know, what's their big meal in Texas? Just steak?
Steak and potatoes? Or grits? Or collard greens? Isn't collard greens?
I don't know. Is that what they do? I've never been to Texas before. I really have to visit.
I've never been to Texas either. I'm dying to go. I want to go next year to a Giants versus Dallas game in Dallas. I really want to do that, so I'm trying to plan that for next year. Would you go?
I'd be down, man.
But you don't even watch football. Name 2 people on the Giants, and not Odell Beckham and Eli Manning.
Odell Beckham and Eli Manning.
You're like a girl when it comes to sports, man. You know zero.
You know what's funny? I used to watch football regularly, but as I got older, I just got so away from just team competitive sports. You know.
Now you just watch porn on TV, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like I turn the TV on every once in a while, and it's usually after 11 p.m. when the Skinamax comes on.
Wait, what was that other website you told me about? Backend.com? What's it called?
Backpage.com.
So what is this?
I heard from a friend that I guess all the prostitutes were getting caught on Craigslist, so they went over to Backpage.com. That's what my friend told me.
Yeah, so when my mom listens to this next podcast, I'm sure she won't.
Yeah, why are you making me say this right now?
I just love to mess with you, man. All right, guys, remember, don't forget to check out our December sale. We're having a huge sale on everything in our library. Get the whole New York Muscle Radio library and a bottle of caffeine with free shipping for one low price. Head on over to newyorkmuscleradio.com. If you're thinking about picking up one of our programs and using them and getting ready for the new year with them, now's your chance. You can get the ARM program. Start that January 1st. Actually, start that now. This way, by the time beach season comes, you'll be rolling around with 18-inch arms like my co-host over there. Right, big guy?
Yeah, right now really is the time to start, guys. And I know it's one of those things. It's like you hear it all the time, but it's so true because if you want to get in shape, guys, for the summer, you got to plan ahead for that. It's not something you could just whip together in a few weeks. I mean, if you're pretty close to being in shape, you could do it. But guys, start ahead, man.
Yep. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel also, NewYorkMuscleRadio.com/video, and subscribe to that YouTube channel because we're going to do start doing a lot more video stuff. But let's move on to the. Oh, go ahead. You got something to say?
No, well, I was just going to say that we do have a couple videos already ready to go. We just have to do little voiceovers and stuff. So we're going to have those training videos, little clips of it for you guys. So it's something a little bit different. You'll actually get to see us train, and we'll explain a little bit about what we're doing while we're training.
I'd actually like to know what you guys would want to see on a YouTube channel. I mean, we have some ideas on what we want to do, but I know people don't want to watch us train. That's boring.
I don't know. Some people will, but you know what? I mean, I agree. We should, whatever our listeners want to see, we'll definitely put it out because we don't want to just put out the same generic shit that everybody else does, because you have enough of that. You want, like we do with the podcast, we try to give you real information instead of just reiterating the same stuff everybody else does over and over again. So we like to do the same thing with the YouTube channel and for videos. So if you guys have anything specific, definitely let us know. As always, email us.
Yeah, maybe I'll put it up in our Facebook page, on our Facebook page, and maybe you guys can, if you're friends with us, go head on over to facebook.com/NewYorkMuscleRadio, and you guys can answer that question. I'll probably put that up sometime today, tomorrow, because I'm just curious what people want to see out of a YouTube channel, what kind of content you guys would want to see. I know that we've been doing the live podcast. We haven't done them in a little bit, actually, but those go over pretty well. People got to see your nice leather pants.
Yeah, I'll definitely wear them for the next one, in case anybody wants to see them.
Yes, please, wear them, Pete.
I will, man, just for you.
They're becoming your signature item.
I haven't actually worn them in a while, if you noticed. I got made fun of too much. I had to stop wearing them. They're still in my closet.
Again, I don't look at your pants, so I couldn't tell you when the last time you wore them. You gel your hair to the gym, so I don't know. Maybe one day you'll show up to work out with your leather pants on.
As long as it's arm day, man, there's a distinct possibility it'll happen.
All right, guys, let's move on to the trending topics. So again, these are just a fun topic to keep the podcast light, fun, and make everyone laugh. But I have two things actually that I want to talk about. So I bought Walt Disney's book, and I know it's weird, but I went to Disney so many times, and I always think about like the guy who created it, like Walt Disney. Like I never read his story, never heard anything about him, and I started reading it, and dude, I'm hooked instantly. Like it's a really, really good book, and it's long as hell though. Really, really good book. But one of the things that that I'm amazed with is how this guy was able to build Walt Disney, and just like everything you hear Walt Disney, everyone knows what it is. It's just insane the type of reach that one person can have and the impact one person's life can have over so many. So how I'm relating this to fitness is in the first couple of pages they were talking about all his haters. People called him a kingpin, a villain, greedy, money hungry. And I just think that's nuts that one person can provide so much happiness to so many different kids. I mean, if you think about it, how many people listening to this have ever watched a Disney movie and watched it multiple times and fell in love with a Disney movie? I mean, all of us, there was at least one. I mean, come on, Toy Story was a great, Disney movie. What was Pixar, actually? Was that Disney? No, yeah, it's Disney. What am I talking about? Just all these classic Disney movies. And, half the people like him and half the people didn't like him. Hater, kingpin, a villain. It's just nuts. So it just goes to show you that you can have haters, but I think that when you actually have a hater and people hating on you for what you're doing, it actually means that you're on the right track for something, because in order for people to like you, you have to have other people who don't like you.
Right. I mean, you know what it is. I mean, if you're being yourself and you're being genuine, not everybody's going to like that, and if you're putting out what you feel you should put out to other people, the people that are going to appreciate it are going to appreciate it. But then there's other people that just, not everybody's meant to like everybody. That's just the way it is. Not everybody's meant to get along with each other. So if you're reaching enough people, then you're also going to reach the people that don't like you and don't like your message. So yeah, it definitely comes with the territory, and it is definitely a sign that you are doing something right and you are on the right path, because it's one of those things, like if you're not getting haters, then you're not reaching enough people.
Yeah, and I mean, Walt Disney has haters. That's what's crazy. Like Walt Disney, like the guy created all this happiness for all these kids, but people hate him. Call him all these bad
Right.
things. And at one point, they were saying in his book that they used his signature became like I guess like a trademark, like a logo for them. And they asked him like, who is Walt Disney? And he basically said like, I'm not Walt Disney. Walt Disney is not me. Walt Disney is its own thing. Can you imagine that? Like you kind of lose your identity in something.
Yeah, well, I guess he the way he must have been describing it was that Walt Disney is something bigger than he is,
Yeah. I mean, but that's insane. But like I said, he created children's characters, all these things, and people still hated on him. So, guys, if anyone's hating on what you're doing, maybe you picked up the ARM program or you're getting ready to diet down this year, and you're listening to us, and people are telling you, "Oh, you can't eat that. You can't eat this. Don't do that." It's a lot of the times it's just, or one of the ones I hate the most. Oh, you look great already. Don't lose any more weight. And
Yeah.
those are just people hating on you, and they don't want to see you succeed. And it's so common. And you may be saying, nah, that's just them giving their opinion. But no, man, it's people hating on you. People hate to see people do better. It's just,
Yeah.
you ever hear the analogy of the crabs?
No.
When there's crabs in a bucket, if one tries to crawl it, all the other crabs pull him back down.
Okay. It makes sense. I never heard that before, but
You never
yeah.
heard that?
No.
I forget the exact quote. I should look for it. But it's basically like if one crab tries to crawl out of a bucket,
Yeah.
all the other crabs will grab on and pull him back down. And it's true, because if you ever went crabbing before,
Yeah,
done
yeah.
that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they just keep pulling each other down, and that's kind of what it is. So
Yeah, and I mean, it's more so people don't like change, like especially like friends and family around you, they're comfortable with how you are, whether it's, the best you can be or just, your average self, but you have potential to be better. People don't like to see change. It's uncomfortable for other people. So for them, it's uncomfortable to see you grow. But you know what? You got to worry about yourself.
yeah, do what my co-host does and just ignore the crabs.
That was a good one, man. I got to give you credit for that one. I didn't laugh because, keeping it,
I crack myself
trying to
up.
keep it PG on this one. But
You know what it is,
that
though?
was a
You're an
good one.
asshole. You know why you're an asshole? Because you laugh after the fact. Because the next day, we'll talk about the podcast that we did, and you're like, yo, you said this. That was so funny. So now when you edit this and you replay that, you're going to die laughing.
I am.
All right. You need some more caffeine, man. You're a little tired today. So my next topic for the trending topics, which was actually really cool, I stumbled across a Rick Drayson article. Now, Rick Drayson's known for one of those guys who trained in the 70s with Arnold. And basically in this article, he talked about the kind of diet that they had back then. So I just wanted to it's fitting for today's podcast, so that's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So basically he talks about in this article that they ate a lot of protein and fat, and that getting protein back then was super hard. They actually had something called a fish powder protein.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. Used to throw up from it, but because they couldn't get protein anywhere. It was crazy. So what they would do is they would get powdered milk and add it to regular milk just to get more protein in. But I'll read the whole diet here. So for breakfast, they had a beef patty with 3 eggs and cottage cheese and with vitamins. Then for lunch, they had chicken or fish or beef patty again, a small salad, optional eggs, and cottage cheese again, or tuna. And then a mid-afternoon snack was a can of tuna or chicken breast or protein shake. Then for dinner, they had steak, chicken with a small salad, cottage cheese, sugar-free gel, and vegetables. And then for bedtime, they had a cheese omelet. So basically, they just kept the carbs really low. And wait, let me see if I can find the spot. There was something where he says like why they did it. Basically, they said they use the carbs when they can.
Yeah, they were all very low carb dieters back then. They were all pretty much did a modified ketogenic diet back then, and I believe it wasn't until it might have been I believe it was Tom Platz actually who started getting a lot more aggressive with using carbohydrates back then. And I think he said he was one of those guys back then, believe it or not. He was doing something like eating breakfast cereals or Pop-Tarts or toaster strudels or something before the Olympia. And like back then, for anybody to do that was just like outrageous. All these other guys were doing like the modified keto, eating the steak and egg diet. And here he comes out and says, you know what, I realized my body needed about 300 grams of carbs a day to get in shape, but still be full. So he was one of those guys back then. You know, he's kind of way ahead of his time with that. But I'm pretty sure that was his choice. Believe it or not, it was Pop-Tarts or something, some type of breakfast pastry.
And then he said they would have like kind of refeed days on Sundays where they would just go in and eat whatever they want. You do need some sugar, and one day a week it was okay to go off the diet and have a junk day. There's usually Sundays we could eat anything we wanted. We always look forward to Sundays. Many of us would down whole pizzas, half-gallon of ice cream, cookies, cheesecake, spaghetti, and meatballs, and just about any sugar we could find. You even went as far as to suck out the cookie crumbs from the bottom of the empty box. I remember crawling away from the dinner table, and I'd so bloated I could hardly walk. But then we were all right back on the diet on Monday. So I just thought it was cool. You know, I thought it was kind of fitting for this, just to show how things are different. They were basically saying on a diet like this, we believe that you can get very lean and muscular in a short period of time, but if you reverse it and then go back to eating carbs, your body will tend to get heavier and blow up way beyond where you started. Fat cells don't disappear, but instead shrink in size. So when you feed them again, they blow right back up to the original size.
Yep.
So
essentially, that's what'll happen with a keto diet.
Yeah. So, but I just thought it was interesting how they ate back then. You know, so it was just basically protein, fat. But I'm sure they had. This is what the diet that they listed here was what they had listed. But I'm sure they had carbs at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure.
Yeah, not every single person ate the exact same diet. And like I said, Tom Platz eventually, like the keto was kind of the standard. I don't even know if they really went by that term or called it a ketogenic diet. But it was just pretty much if you were looking to lose weight, just cut out the carbs, eat your protein and fat. And then, like I said, Tom Platz was like the one guy who started saying, you know what, that might not be the best way to go about it, or at least not for everybody.
I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, because, you know, he looked awesome, you know, and he was one of those guys, if you ever really, if you ever watched any of his videos or read any of his stuff, he was one of those guys where he questioned everything and he kind of took his own stance on everything. He didn't just follow the crowd, you know, and he believed more in practical application, I guess you could say, and really finding out what works for him. So he was one of those guys that just didn't just follow the status quo.
Which is cool. And I guess that's why he was the first one to have Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. I mean, and look at what's going on now with the Pop-Tart community.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the listener question of the day. Again, if you guys have a question you want us to answer, you can submit it on our website, NewYorkMuscleRadio.com/listener question, or you can call your question in at 508-687-2534. Again, that number is 508-687-2534. We will love to play your voicemail live on the air, so please call. Please, please, please. People are being shy about this. I don't know why, but whatever. So today's question is from Corinna Senn. Senn? Sorry, S-E-N-N. Senn?
Senn.
All right, she says, how would you combine bodybuilding with weightlifting, Olympic style, and would it be similar to combining bodybuilding with powerlifting? Thanks.
That's an interesting question. We never got that one before.
I know. So actually, this question sparked some interest in me, and I reached out to Eric Helms because I believe he did some Olympic style weightlifting. And hopefully I can get him on the podcast to talk about that. So he didn't answer my Facebook message yet. But as soon as he answers it, we may have a podcast on this because I'm just interested in it as well. But I would think you would be able to combine it with bodybuilding. I'm not sure I can't say off my head because I've never done Olympic lifting. So I'm not sure. Even it's clean and jerk, right? It's clean and jerk,
and
push press, snatch, right? Those are the Olympic movements?
Yeah.
Did we miss any?
Well, it's two lifts, clean and jerk and a snatch.
Okay. So, yeah, I would assume you could combine bodybuilding training with that. I mean, there's a lot. You could definitely do arms in there. Probably some shoulder work. You're going to be getting a lot of that with the Olympic movements. Definitely going to have to be doing some type of squat. Definitely going to have to be doing some type of a deadlift. I would say you can.
Yeah. The thing with Olympic lifting, they train for Olympic lifting a little bit differently than you would with powerlifting. Olympic lifting, powerlifting, the frequency is already high, but Olympic lifting, the frequency is even higher.
It's like every day, right?
Yeah,
5 days a week?
because you know what it is? Because there's tons of submaximal work. You know, Olympic lifting's not about getting under 90% consistently and trying to lift it. You know what I mean? It's tons and tons of submaximal work. A lot of it is just technique work over and over and over again. So you're spending so much time doing that. It's not necessarily going to be as taxing as lifting a heavy load, but you're spending so much time that if you were to incorporate the bodybuilding exercises, more hypertrophy work, those will definitely benefit you. But now you're kind of going into so much time in the gym where, you know, you want to make sure your time is efficient. You're spending your time in the gym efficiently. So you definitely will benefit from adding in bodybuilding work with it. It's just a matter of kind of picking the most bang for your buck exercises to throw in on top of that, because you're already going to be spending so many days out of the week and so much time practicing those lifts. You're going to be limited to what else you can do just based on time. I mean, but unless you're one of those guys that could train for 5 hours a day, 6 days a week, then maybe you could get away with it. But if you're limited on time, then definitely throw in the bodybuilding work on top of it. But, you know, keep it minimal and keep it just to the basics of what you need to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm by far not an expert in this, so don't quote us on this answer because we've never done Olympic lifting. But be sure we're definitely going to have some type of an expert on here to talk about Olympic lifting, and hopefully we'll be able to answer this question again for you. But I think you can. I just think you have to, like Pete said, pick and choose.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
I think any sport specific training you're doing is always going to be beneficial if you add some bodybuilding work into it.
Yeah, definitely, even for mobility purposes. All right, let's take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with today's fitness podcast number 5.
But I'll tell you what, when I'm done, my biceps are humongous. Humongous. Like that, bang!
My name is Anthony Bevilacqua, and I'm the host of New York Muscle Radio podcast. My arms have been a weak point for years. When I started training, my arms measured 11 inches. Even after many years of hardcore training, nothing would get them to grow. With the help of my co-host, Big Pete, we set out on a mission to gain 1 solid inch to my arms in 12 weeks.
In the greatest experiment of all.
12 weeks later, this program finally helped me get 18-inch arms. The 12-week arm experiment, the ultimate arm growth program, ebook, the audio book, and the workout video. Pick up your copy now on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
Nice, Pete.
What?
I saw you checking out that girl's butt.
What? I was just checking out her yoga pants.
Pete.
I was thinking you'd look really good in yoga pants.
Uh-huh.
I was like trying to check out what brand it was. Like I was looking at her form on deadlifts. They were all messed up.
Do you think she has a nicer butt than me?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like a pancake.
Did you just call my butt a pancake?
Well, I mean,
What can I do?
you gotta try New York Muscle Radio's Glutylicious program.
Glutylicious.
Yeah, you'll finally get a celebrity booty, like all the other girls following the program.
Fine, I'll do it. But don't get jealous when other guys check out my glutylicious ass.
Glutylicious, your guide to getting a celebrity booty in 12 weeks. Now available exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Want anything special for your birthday?
Just a decent cup of coffee.
You're kidding.
I'm serious. Honey, your coffee's undrinkable.
It's pretty harsh.
Well, so's your coffee. You know, the girls down at the office make better coffee on their hot plates.
And he didn't even kiss me goodbye. You know, if I could just make a decent cup of coffee, I could relax.
So relax. Why don't you try Coffeine from BuyProteinCoffee.com? Tastes good as fresh perk.
Good as fresh perk.
And it has protein. 10 grams per scoop.
I'll surprise Harvey for his birthday tonight.
Hey, great coffee.
Doesn't it taste good as fresh perk?
Better.
Better than those girls make at the office.
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
Coffeine, the world's only instant coffee that's fortified with muscle-building protein. Visit BuyProteinCoffee.com now.
Hey guys, it's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, and I just wanted to announce that my brand new personal training facility is now open. I'm currently taking on new clients in the Long Island, New York area. If you're interested in working with the best personal trainer in the business, head on over to abfitnesstrainer.com and sign up for your free consultation. Then you can understand why bodybuilding.com has named me Personal Trainer of the Month. All right, guys, we're back. New York Muscle Radio, episode number 82. Today's topic is going to be the top 10 muscle building meals. So I guess these are me and my co-host 10 go-to meals for muscle building, fat loss, whatever you want to call them. But that's pretty much our 10, I guess, are they favorite meals? How do you want to describe this?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider them more go-to meals. Like I said earlier, they're meals that I kind of stick to just out of consistency and convenience. I mean, favorite meals is kind of hard because I like to eat a lot. So I like to eat a lot of different things too. But these are definitely my go-to.
Yeah, I would say go-to muscle building meals. We could put them like that. So This is just a little different episode. We're going to give you guys kind of some ideas when it comes to food because, I look at things online with people, what they eat. Some people get really, really creative and some people are really, really basic. But sometimes people don't even know what a good meal, a good bodybuilding meal consists of. So I think it's good if we do this episode and just tell everyone our secrets, I guess, when it comes to food.
Yeah, that's a good point, too, that not a lot of people know what a good bodybuilding meal is because I think with the growth of, counting macros and flexible dieting, people understand that, okay, I have to hit a certain macronutrient ratio. But, like we talk about in a lot of episodes, just hitting your protein requirements is not necessarily optimal, depending on what type of protein source you're using, depending how that fits into that meal throughout the whole day, what the amount is. It's going to make a little bit of a difference. So it's not going to make a huge difference, but, if we're talking about being optimal, that's definitely going to come into the equation.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I feel like sometimes people don't even know, for instance, someone's trying to lose weight. Oh, I'm just going to eat, a salad. And they throw the dressing on top of it. I mean, we know we're supposed to count it, but is that an optimal meal like you just said? So, or they cook their food in, some type of an oil and then, maybe forget to count the oil, So it's just these are just our go-to meals that we use for muscle building or fat loss, because we eat this stuff for fat loss too.
Yeah, my meals don't necessarily change much. I like to eat the same foods all the time. I just have to cut back on the amounts, and most of the time it's in the form of just carbs mostly. So usually I cut back on carbs and, it's all ratio at that point. I got to cut back the calories a little bit, but the food choices are generally the same.
All right, so let's go right into this, man. So meal number one, and this is, I guess, a basic staple, is going to be chicken with some type of a rice and broccoli. And we're talking grilled chicken or roasted chicken. We're not adding any fat to this meal. You could add fat to the meal, but this is just like we said, a go-to meal. So this is going to be a plain grilled chicken with rice, and we're throwing in some broccoli in there. Again, you could use white rice or brown rice. Doesn't really matter. It's whatever your preference is. I actually prefer white rice, but it depends on my mood.
Yeah, I definitely prefer white rice over brown rice. I know everybody who is health conscious always thinks that brown rice is the better choice. I'm actually going to argue against that for a lot of reasons. Usually the reason people just choose brown rice is because it's a slower digesting carb. But it's also very, because of that, like myself and a lot of other people have problems even just digesting it in general, when it kind of sits in the stomach and, you just don't really feel good. You get a lot of indigestion from it, especially if you eat large quantities. So I actually prefer white rice over brown rice. My favorite is actually jasmine, though. If I had to pick one rice, I like jasmine.
Have you ever had basmati rice?
Yeah, basmati rice is good too.
I love
definitely
the way
like
smells.
that. Yeah, I do.
It makes your whole house smell
honestly,
good when you use
it does. But I'm a fan of all rice, but my preference is definitely jasmine. But the meal chicken, rice, and broccoli. That's definitely a good pre-workout meal, post-workout meal. Because it's a protein and carb source meal. There's no fat in there, so that definitely makes it more optimal for before the workout or after the workout. And the good thing about that meal is whether you're dieting, whether you're bulking, or if you're trying to diet down, that meal is fine. It's just the ratio is gonna change, like I said. So if you're dieting, you might want to cut down on the carbs. So you're gonna do less rice. If you're bulking, you probably want to put some more rice in there.
Yeah, you actually just took the words right out of my mouth. The amounts are gonna depend. I would say with the chicken though, for a woman, I would say you want to get anywhere between 3 and 4, 5 ounces maybe, and for a man, I would say you would need anywhere between, 4 to 8 ounces, again, depending on your meals, depending on how many meals, how big you are, whatever. But that's like a general rule as far as protein goes, all across the board. I think like about 5 ounces of chicken and I believe it's 6 ounces of steak that contain about 3 grams of leucine, which is enough to spike protein synthesis. So you want to get in those ranges is good. But I like that meal. Definitely. Chicken and rice, you could definitely, you could add things to it too to season it up as far as taste goes. I like adding teriyaki sauce to things, so you could add some teriyaki sauce to that. You could even add some barbecue sauce, factor that in. Even some marinara sauce on top of that's not too bad either.
Yeah, that is good, actually. You've been putting me onto that lately.
Yeah. Well, what do you usually have? If you have the chicken and rice, do you normally have it plain?
Most of the time, yeah, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll usually, if I season my chicken, that's about it. But like, I'm not usually going to put any sauce on it or anything like that. I just might put some spices on the chicken, and that's pretty much it. I don't mind eating it plain, to be honest with you. I like a little salt and pepper. Again, I'm not afraid of the sodium, so I'll put the salt on there, and that pretty much does it for me. That's usually enough.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. I could have it plain. If I'm dieting and I want a little flavor, then I'll use a teriyaki sauce more. If I'm bulking and I need the calories, then I'll go with something that contains calories. But that's a pretty good staple meal. All right, let's move into meal number 2, which is another bodybuilding staple meal. It's going to be a steak. I prefer a flank steak with sweet potato. What kind of steak do you prefer, big guy?
Sirloin is usually my go-to. I always
make sure you take notes because Big Pete is looking for love. So a nice sirloin steak.
Yeah, you guys know the key to a man's heart is through his stomach, right?
Exactly. So you got to cook him a steak.
Yeah, but I like sirloin. I mean, it's a lean choice of steak. I prefer fatty steaks too sometimes, but to be honest with you, I'm not really a fan of too fatty of a meat. Even though I really like what is that called? What's the
T-bone?
The T-bone I like.
Ribeye.
Ribeye, yeah. I don't know why I'm drawing it, but I like ribeyes, but sometimes ribeyes could be a little too fatty for me, and I actually would prefer a nice lean steak. So, that comes down to preference. But either way, I think if I was bulking, and I had the extra calories that I could take in from a fattier steak, I would still probably go to the sirloin, kind of as the go-to. But it depends. Maybe I'm in the mood for ribeye, but most of the time I'd say 9 out of 10 sirloin.
I like flank steak. Flank steak is pretty good because the fat is marbleized within the meat itself, so it's not really like big chunks of fat on it. So it actually gives you a really good taste. The macros for flank steak are pretty good too. I'm not sure if they're. I think they're about the same as sirloin. I think.
Yeah, it's got to be close. Yeah.
You know what else is good? Top round. I like top round steak. You just got to cook it very quick.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, steak. I kind of. I mean, I guess it's the same thing with chicken for me. I keep it pretty simple and plain, to be honest with you. I think if you have the right cut of steak, you don't really have to do too much to it.
I love steak on the barbecue, though. I prefer to have it on the barbecue. Like, I won't make it at home unless I'm going to barbecue it. If I'm not going to barbecue it, I'd rather just go out and get a steak. Because if you cook it in the pan, it's not the same.
No, it's not. And yeah, it's completely different. I mean, and, everybody likes to eat their meat differently, whether it's, rare, medium rare, well. Again, I'm pretty simple with it. And to be honest with you, with steaks, I actually would rather it be a little bit more on the... I wouldn't say but I'm not a huge fan of it.
Oh, you like hockey pucks?
I don't like hockey pucks, but I definitely would prefer a hockey puck over a bloody steak. That's definitely
you're missing the best part. That's the whole point of eating a steak.
I don't know about that.
No, that's the best part, man. I love my steak rare like that. So good.
Yeah,
it's so much more like juicier.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, if you're having like what the hell is that called?
As far as gains go, it doesn't matter if it's rare or well done. No, it doesn't matter.
I mean, people think that if you cook it too much, you're gonna burn the nutrients out of it. I mean, if you burn the steak, if you burn the steak, then your steak is like, let's say you have a 6 ounce, like let's say you have an 8 ounce piece of steak raw. Depending on what cut the meat is, if it's fatty or not, it's gonna when it's cooked, it's gonna shrink in size. It might go down to like 6 ounces. If you burn it, yeah, you're gonna go down to maybe like 5.5 ounces. Depending if you burn off the steak. But
then
as
your
far
jaw's
as
gonna get tired from chewing it.
Yeah. So I mean, but
it's beef jerky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have people on the other side of the spectrum who think it's good to eat all. You ever hear that? The guy who ate all raw meat?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Don't do that.
All raw meat, even raw chicken. That's fucking gross, man.
I wouldn't even attempt that. I mean, I think you'd have to get like I think when he did that, he was eating like it had to be like I don't know if it make a difference, to be honest with you, but I think he was saying that he was all like natural or whatever the hell it was, organic meat and stuff like that. But I don't think you should eat your meat raw.
Yeah, no way. No way, but he was. So that's our second pretty much staple meal. We didn't really talk about the sweet potato part of it, but sweet potatoes are pretty easy to cook. Throw them in the oven, put them in the microwave. You cut them up, make sweet potato fries. You can kind of do anything, but that's another meat and potatoes type meal, I guess.
Right, exactly. And a sweet potato goes well with that because, and I've said this before in other episodes talking about nutrition, like with the chicken example. If you do the white rice and the broccoli, since you're adding the broccoli to the white rice, you're going to add fiber into that meal. That's kind of going to achieve the same thing you would if you went with more of a slow digesting carb, like either the brown rice or a sweet potato. So in this case, just doing steak and sweet potato, you're going to get all that fiber in the sweet potato. It's going to be a good carb source. It's going to mix really well. That's going to pretty much make it a complete meal. Depending on the cut of meat you do, it's going to be a more fatty-based meal or a leaner protein source meal, so it depends. But when you're mixing the carb source in there with the fiber, it's going to make it a good choice.
Yeah, and I would definitely, this is the type of meal that, I would consume a pre-workout. I like a little bit more fat in there pre-workout, so I guess the food stays a little longer. It depends on the day, but I would ideally use this for a meal later on in the day. If you want something quick and easy, post-workout and pre-workout, then maybe the chicken with the rice, meal number 1 would be a better example. But, either way, it depends. Again, it depends how much steak you have. It's not going to be that much fat. So you can have a pre-workout.
Yeah, you can. The biggest thing with me eating a pre-workout and a post-workout meal, a lot of times that's more out of convenience, like majority of my meals are.
Yeah.
And chicken, rice is easy. You make a whole pot of rice and just save it. Chicken, same thing. You can cook a bunch in bulk and save it. If you're having a steak, you're usually going to cook it right there at that meal and then eat it. So it's going to be more time.
It's the best way to have it.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone who's into meal prep, I'm sure they meal prep their steak and stuff like that. I wouldn't bother cooking a steak and eating it later,
Well, the way to do it is you have to cut the steak up, and you have to make it. When we were doing it for the meal prep company, you have to make it almost like medium rare-ish, because then you're obviously going to. Most people heat it up in the microwave.
Right,
I'm an animal, and I don't. I eat all my food cold, pretty much. So,
yeah, me too, honestly.
So that's the trick, is you got to make them like a little not undercooked, but more medium rare-ish. This way you cut them, they stay juicy, and then if you put in the microwave, they cook again.
Yeah, I guess that'll be good. Then when it comes out, it's pretty much like it's fully cooked now.
Yeah, pretty much. Again, it depends how you want it. So
yeah.
All right, let's move. Wait, and we said the sweet potato. How do you normally do your sweet potatoes? I'm just curious.
Sweet potatoes, again, the same thing. I like to cook everything in bulk, which is why I like sweet potatoes. I'll just put a bunch of them in the oven and put it in a pan. It takes so long, but it's good once you make them all. Then they'll last you a couple of days. So I just bake them in the oven. I don't do anything. I like sweet potato fries, but the prep time and everything is just almost not even.
They actually cook quicker than a regular potato, though.
They do, but cutting them into fries,
it takes
peeling
1 second to cut it.
No, you got to peel the skin off.
What are you making? Crinkled fries?
I do, actually. I like them like that. I don't like them too thick, nice and thin.
Oh my god. Oh god, ladies, you guys are in for rude awakening if you take this guy out, man. He's very picky with his food. You gotta make sure you give him sweet potatoes that are 2 days old, and a steak has to be like a hockey puck.
That's it's not that complicated.
All right, meal number 3, and this was our go-to meal in Ohio, and it's still a go-to meal for me. I just don't consume the second part of the meal. I don't have them regularly, so it's kind of a treat for me normally. But meal number 3. Meal number 3, I'm just saying, meals. It's not in any type of order, but is a whey protein shake and a bagel. Quick, easy meal. You can make the shake. Takes about 2 seconds to make a shake. Grab a bagel and be out the door. And you're getting, anywhere between, again, 1 or 2 scoops of protein. So anywhere between 25 and 50 grams of protein. And from the bagel, you're going to get, anywhere, again, depending on the bagel, anywhere between 35 and 75 grams of carbohydrates.
Yeah, and this is something that most bodybuilders won't suggest as a good meal, but I'll tell you why it is. Obviously, every meal that we're discussing, we focus on.
Does it have to be a whole wheat bagel?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be. I like pretzel bagels.
I know you turned me on to those. Actually, they're pretty good.
Yeah,
I had a pretzel roll the other day. I went to a burger place and
yeah, that's where they're the best. Yeah,
you know how you could like make your own burger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I got a chicken, so it was just like it was actually good because it was like 2 big pieces of grilled chicken, and right on the pretzel roll and whatever else you get on it. But it was pretty good. The pretzel roll was awesome. I didn't have.
Yeah, I like it. The first time I had one was with a. What did I have? It was a burger, I think, but it was cool because I like. You ever have burgers with like a hard boiled egg on it?
Yeah.
I love it. It's like if you like steak and eggs or anything like that, but I got like a was like a bacon burger with a hard-boiled egg on it on a pretzel bun. It was great. Ever since then, I started eating pretzel bagels, pretzel buns, and stuff. But anyway, back to what I was saying. The reason that that's actually a good meal and not a lot of people suggest it is because, especially like you said, when we were in Ohio, that was kind of a go-to meal because especially if we're eating out a lot, there's going to be hidden stuff in everything you're eating. So like if you're going out to breakfast and you want to get your eggs, they're going to fry them in butter, oil, whatever it is. Whatever meal you're going to get, there's always going to be some extra oil stuff that's hidden in there.
You could easily add 200 calories to any meal you get out. Easily.
Yeah. So like if you go out and you have protein powder on you, which we did, let's have a scoop of protein powder and then, okay, let's get a bagel. You pretty much know what's in it. It's pretty much cut and dry. You know what I mean? It's pretty simple. And it's an easy source of carbs, especially, we would do that and then we go to the gym and work out. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Like I said, I like it for the convenience part of it. It's very, very quick and easy. And the bagels they're good. I'll just eat the bagel plain. I don't really put anything on it. Especially if I'm in a rush, I'll just grab the bagel and the shake and be out the door. And it's a quick, easy meal, quick, complete meal.
That's pretty much been my breakfast, my staple breakfast lately. I'll usually do maybe cereal with my whey protein shake in the morning, but now it's pretty much every day.
You always got to jump ahead.
Oh, that is the next one.
You
but
always got to jump ahead.
There's a different reason for that. We'll talk about that when we get to it. I don't want to jump the gun then, but this will lead into it because the reason that the bagel is my breakfast of choice now and not the cereal is for a specific reason. So we'll talk about that when we get to the cereal one.
What a cliffhanger, big guy. What a cliffhanger. But I actually like cinnamon raisin bagels. I think those are really good. They're higher in carbs though. But
I like those too. Those are good too. Honestly, I'm not too picky. I like all bagels. Everything bagels are good too.
Do you buy them in like bulk and keep them in your house or?
Yeah. Again, I always talk about how
like
I shop
Thomas's
it.
Bread?
No, I go to Trader Joe's. So they actually have really good bagels at Trader Joe's. They have. I either get the pretzel bagels from there. I'll get the cinnamon raisin. Their whole wheat are not good though. Those I'll have to say are not good. It'll usually be either the cinnamon raisin or the pretzel bagels. But I'm kind of on a pretzel bagel kick, so I'll buy like 3 or 4 bags of them at a time and then just put them in the freezer because their stuff expires very fast anyway. Usually, if you're getting a bread or a bagel, they'll only last about 2. They'll only have a shelf life of like 2 or 3 days. So I'll buy a bunch and just put them in the freezer.
How many carbs are the ones that you get?
They're about 50, and they're a decent sized bagel. It's not.
I would say any like store bought brand of bagels are going to have about 50 grams of carbs. If you get the real New York bagels, and New Yorkers who are listening to this know what we're talking about, those bagels are not 50 carbs.
No.
Those things are like 75 to 100 depending on the size of them.
At least, yeah.
Oh,
but
man,
they're
it brings
also
me back to my days at school when you used to get the big bagels with all the cream cheese on it. They used to like pour the cream cheese on top.
Yeah, I know. It would be like $1.25 for a bagel or something like that. A bagel with cream cheese.
The good old days. All right. Meal number 4. Muscle building meal number 4, I should say. Whole eggs with whole wheat bread. And I think this is a good meal. This again, I like eating egg whites and I like whole eggs as well. It's 2 different types of taste. Egg whites pretty much are lighter and take the consistency of anything that you put with them. If you want sweet egg whites, you can make them sweet. Whole eggs kind of have a whole different taste to themselves. And I like eating whole eggs with whole wheat bread. The way I usually do it, I don't even know what this is called, but I break apart the bread. I put it in a bowl, so I don't toast the bread or anything. I'll make the eggs. I'll make them kind of sunny side up, and then I'll pour the eggs inside the bowl with the bread, and I'll mash it all up together, and like the juiciness from the eggs, like the liquid, goes into the bread. Oh, it's so good, man.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually had that. I saw you make it, and it does look pretty good. But
it's so easy to eat too.
Yeah, I think, eggs should really be a staple in any bodybuilder's diet, whether they are bulking or whether they're cutting. It doesn't really matter. I actually prefer them in my diet, even whole eggs, when I'm dieting more so than when I'm bulking. And I know that sounds completely opposite because of the extra fat and the extra calories, but the saturated fats and stuff in the eggs overall just make me feel better when I'm dieting. Like, I feel like when I do keep eggs in my diet, when I'm in a caloric deficit, I just feel better overall, rather than getting my fats from some other source. But, that might just be me, but I definitely, time and time again, every time I do it and I compare it to when I don't have it, I notice that I feel better. So I like to have the whole eggs in there. And I'm just a fan of bread. We're not, between me and Anthony, we're both not
Gluten
intolerant. You know, we're not afraid of gluten, and I think both of us agree pretty much that bread seems to work pretty well with both of our digestive systems, and as far as filling out on it and getting good pumps, and just overall just feeling good. I like bread in my diet.
Yeah, bread never bothered me. And the thing with egg whites is they're so low in calories that they'll keep you full for a long time. So that's what kind of why I like to use them when dieting. When I'm dieting, I don't like to use whole eggs as much because then, obviously you're taking away some fat and you're trying to fit other things in, so you can't use them. But there's a time and place for everything. When bulking, definitely whole eggs. There's no reason to not use whole eggs when you're bulking. You're going to need the fat anyway. You're going to need the protein. They're cheap enough source of protein, so you might as well use the whole egg. And this is a simple meal. You can even make French toast out of this, actually. If you took, however many eggs you were making, dunk the bread in, cook the bread, there you go, that's French toast. But whole eggs with whole wheat bread, how I make it, Pete, how he makes it scrambled, whatever, makes an omelet, throws it over the bread, has sandwiches. You could do that too. Quick, easy meal. You could easily make this, if you made them into sandwiches, make them and take them on for the day. And quick, easy meal and easy cleanup. No mess, really.
Yeah, and for anybody who likes to get breakfast out or whatever, and they're going to order their eggs and whole wheat toast or bread or whatever it is, you got to know that, and we said this before, that you're going to at least assume that there's going to be about 2 servings of extra fat in there. So if you get 2 eggs on and whole wheat toast,
add a tablespoon of olive oil to your MyFitnessPal.
Yeah. So
the trick around that, what you can do is, and I've done this 100 times, just get hard-boiled eggs. Tell me you just want 6 hard-boiled eggs or whatever it is.
That's actually a great tip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
When me and my wife love cruising, so we've been on so many different cruises. So when we go on the cruises, they have all these breakfast omelets buffet, and it's like they literally pour the oil inside the skillet thing and then pour your omelet in. Even if you get egg whites, I'm like,
Oh yeah, I mean that's
totally
the thing too.
Ruins it.
It defeats the. If you ever order egg whites out and think that you're actually doing yourself a favor, you're really not. You know what I mean?
Really
unless you're adding in the extra fat that's already going to be in there. I mean, egg whites. If you're trying to keep the fat low, egg whites are going to be better than having whole eggs. But just know that it's not a fat-free meal if you get egg whites out. You know what I mean?
So anyway, so the breakfast line has hard-boiled eggs in it. So that's how I thought of it. I was like, I'm just going to take hard-boiled eggs. So on the cruise, you can it's unlimited. So you can eat whatever you want. One morning I had 12. I came back with a huge bowl of hard-boiled eggs, 12 hard-boiled eggs. My wife looked at me like I was insane, but whatever. I got my protein in, so.
Yeah, and I mean, you could always, if you're in the mood for an egg sandwich and like you want to do that, you could always. I have hard-boiled egg sandwiches. Like I'll hard-boil eggs and then I'll just cut them and just put them on my whole wheat bread. I actually think it tastes pretty good that way too.
I've never done it that way.
It's not bad at all, actually. I mean, I'm not a fan of just eating a hard-boiled egg. I think it's kind of plain and boring by itself. So even if I just cut it up and make a sandwich out of it, put some ketchup on it or something, it tastes good.
Doesn't it fall apart though?
A little bit, yeah, but
All right.
We don't care about that.
Yeah, you'd be licking the plate.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua. Did you think I would let my co-host Big Pete make all the commercials? Welcome to the New York Muscle Radio podcast. If you want to learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner while eating what you want, pick up your copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code, now available in audiobook version, exclusively on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get back to the show. All right, muscle building meal number 5, and this is kind of my go-to thing. It's Greek yogurt with cereal. So instead of using a milk, I'll use a Greek yogurt. There's an easy way for me to get protein in, and it's definitely a more voluminous meal, so it's good while dieting because Greek yogurt is usually lower in calories and very voluminous, so you get a lot for a serving. And then if you mix that with cereal, you have a good complete meal there. A low in fat meal also is a good pre or post workout meal. And if you wanted to interchange the Greek yogurt, you could use a cottage cheese. It actually tastes really good. Either way, if you use a flavored Greek yogurt or a plain Greek yogurt or whatever, but it's just an easy way to get some protein in and carbs. So it's really good. It just replaces the milk pretty much with a protein source.
Yeah,
a low-fat protein source.
Yeah, so it's a little higher in protein than if you were to just go with just the milk. But I mean, there's not really much to add to that. But the one thing I've been doing a lot lately, and I kind of got on this kick more recently, is I've been having a lot of fat-free frozen Greek yogurt. So it's basically like regular frozen yogurt that's more like ice cream, but it's got a pretty good decent amount of protein in it. And I've been on a big blueberry kick, so I've actually been putting a lot of blueberries in there, and I'll do that. And I mean, the amount of calories you will put in probably from the blueberries based on the volume is going to be a little lower than something like cereal, so that's not a bad substitute if you're trying to cut the carbs a little bit. And it tastes awesome. Too. I love blueberries, man.
I love them frozen. I think they're
frozen.
Better frozen.
That's actually the key too. I'm not a huge fan of blueberries unless they are frozen, to be honest with you. But I love frozen blueberries.
Yeah. All right. So the reason why we keep, and this is going to come up later when we get to the cereal with the whey protein thing, but the reason why we recommend cereal, well, the reason why I recommend cereal is one of the things I learned in school, and actually one of the takeaways I learned from school in nutrition. I have my degree in nutrition. One of the things the teacher told us was that cereal was one of the best sources of food to eat. Why? Because it's basically a multivitamin with sugar added to it. So all cereals are fortified, and they're fortified with vitamins and minerals, so it's probably one of the most complete foods you can eat. So that's why I have cereal. Plus it tastes good and it's more voluminous, so this is why I recommend cereal. I don't know why Pete does. I'm actually surprised that he does, because most cereals are processed, and I mean, it's easy. So I don't know if I would say you're more toward, you're not a bro in that sense, but you don't eat a lot of crap food.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe exactly what my criteria is for it being an acceptable food or not.
Yeah, it's just as complicated as your criteria for women.
That's a good point. But, cereal, the reason I don't give it a thumbs down is because, I mean, usually your cereal is going to be from two sources. It's either going to be from a corn source or a oat source. And I don't have a problem with either of those.
I love corn.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with corn. Everyone makes it out to be a lot worse than it is. Oats are pretty much accepted by everybody. So it's going to be one of those two sources. And, depending on what type of cereal you get, they're not really going to add too much in there. I mean, there's going to be some sugar. There's going to be some other stuff in there. But it's pretty basic. The stuff I don't usually go for is when you have a food label that has about 1,000 things in it. Because most of the time it has stuff in there that I don't agree with. But something like if you look at the food label of my favorite cereal is Honey Bunches of Oats. Probably has 5 ingredients or so. I mean, I'm not sure on the exact number, but you're not going to have one of those food labels where it has 40 or 50 different things in it. You know what I mean? Because usually then you can bet if you start reading 40 or 50 things, you're going to find something in there that's bad.
Like soy.
You'll find that in there and everything. I mean, usually you won't find soy in cereal. I don't really know of any cereals that they would put that in. They would have to be something with a higher fat count. But most cereal is pretty low in fat,
Yeah, plus cereal is pretty good too, depending on which one you get.
Yeah, I love cereal.
You could get literally a simple cereal is like Honey Nut Cheerios, and it tastes really good. It's very simple, very voluminous. They have the chocolate one now. There's so many different types.
Yeah, and I mean, people say that it's just loaded with sugar. I mean, there's sugar in cereal, but if you look at actually the amount of fiber that's in it, some cereals, I mean, unless you're eating cornflakes or something, they'll have some fiber in there too. So it's not, it's not completely terrible. I mean, if I eat Honey Bunches of Oats and I have 75 grams of carbs from a meal like that, it might have an additional 9 or 10 grams of fiber, which is, it's not a lot, but that's not just strictly 75 grams of straight sugar. So it balances out if you fit it in with your.
I hate when people say that with the sugar.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, people
people are just dumb, because you know what, when people start saying things like that, I laugh, because it's okay, well, you know how much sugar's in an apple, but why?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, they'll complain about the sugar in the cereal, but they'll eat fruit all day.
Usually, these are the same people who don't count their macros and have no idea how to diet, so we'll forgive them. All right, so muscle building meal number 6. This is one of my personal favorites. I like this one when dieting. Actually, when I'm bulking, it's a good meal for bulking because there's a lot of calories. But I like it better dieting because it keeps me full for a long time. It's basically whey protein, oatmeal, and peanut butter. Oh my God, It's such a good mix. Especially when the way I do it, I make the oatmeal dry, I sift in the whey protein dry. I use hot water. I just boil the hot water over it, I mix it, and then I add the peanut butter in. The peanut butter gets oozy. Oh man, it's so good.
It is, yeah. And I mean, it's about as basic as you get for bodybuilding meals, something like that, because you get your protein source, you get your carb source, and you get your fat source. There's no indirect sources. It's all direct sources.
Yeah,
direct protein, a direct carb, a direct fat, and they're all very good sources of each. If you're whey protein, that's a good quality of protein source. Oatmeal is a great carb source, and peanut butter is obviously a great fat source. So it's not going to be like a trace amount of anything, so you have pretty much control over how much you're going to add to it. So it makes it really easy if you're bulking. Okay, maybe add, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter rather than 1. If you're cutting, you do a little less. You do less carbs. It's pretty simple like that. Whereas something like a steak, you might have like if you want the protein you need, the fat might be too high, or something like that. But this, you have a lot of control over it, so it makes it's definitely convenient for bodybuilders, especially if you're packing meals with you to go and stuff like that. Just get whey, oats, peanut butter.
Plus, it's so good. And it really does keep me so full. It's one of those foods that, like, I can eat it, especially when dieting, and be satisfied. When I dieted the last time for my first powerlifting meet, I dieted down almost to bodybuilding competition levels. And literally, this breakfast would save me every day because it would just keep me full for such a long period of time. It's because of the amount of fiber in the oatmeal expands in your stomach. The fat from the peanut butter slows down digestion. So it's definitely a good meal. And like I said, I can't really eat it so much during bulking because it'll keep me too full. So that's why I don't have it. And I noticed I don't really have oatmeal too much when I'm bulking either. I think because it keeps me full.
I'm the same way, to be honest with you. I go for the oatmeal more when I'm dieting. I like oatmeal.
I don't dislike it. Just when I'm bulking, I'm like, I don't want it. Weird.
Yeah, it does a good job of filling the stomach when you're dieting. So definitely more of a dieting food for me.
All right, let's move on to muscle building meal number 7. This is yours, big guy. So go ahead. You might as well take it.
So I don't even remember what we wrote down, but I'm assuming that this is the whey protein and the cereal, right?
Oh, my God. Yes, big guy. Yes, this is yours.
All right. So going back to this, we mentioned this a little earlier. We didn't want to jump the gun, but I was comparing it to the whey protein and the bagel. And these are usually either of my go-to breakfast, mostly out of convenience. I like eggs and stuff like that, but I don't like to cook first thing in the morning. I kind of like to just get food right in my system. I usually wake up pretty hungry. But I said, that there was a reason why I'm going for the bagels now as opposed to the cereal, which I was doing more often. And that's because usually when I do the bagels, I have cream cheese on it, whether it's low fat or whole fat, depending on where I am, if I'm bulking or cutting. But that's a fat source added to the protein and carbs.
Did you ever have the flavored? I'm cutting you off because you mentioned it quick. Did you ever have the flavored cream cheeses?
Yeah, I love like the garden vegetable one.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite one too.
That is
my
favorite
one.
No,
the strawberry one's good too.
Strawberry's okay, but it's more of like it could get old very fast type of thing. You know what I mean? You got to have it in low amounts. But the garden vegetable is really good. That is really good. And I think they only make that in like the 1/3 less fat one, I think.
Oh, I don't even know.
I don't even think they have a whole fat. I'm not even sure. But
did you ever get like that garden one, whatever, at like a bagel store?
Oh, it's so good.
Fatty, but it's so good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Anybody who hasn't had that, you gotta. I feel bad for you, honestly. You gotta try it.
My wife gets one from like the bagel store. It's I think it's walnut, cinnamon, and walnut cinnamon raisin. Oh my God, dude, it's incredible. But it's probably so high in fat. It's definitely loaded.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. But, going back to what I'm talking about as far as it being a fat source. So, the whey protein and the cereal is my go-to breakfast if I'm working out right after that. If my workouts are first thing in the morning or if they're after my first meal, whatever it is. But my schedule has kind of changed lately and I train more in the afternoons or in the evening. So breakfast time, I like to get some more fat in, because I'm trying to hit my fat goals for the day. I don't like to have a breakfast with a lot of fat in it if I'm going to train right after, for a few reasons. One, it's going to slow down the digestion, and I want those carbs to get in, and cereal is one of my favorite things to get carbs in very fast. Also, fat usually tends to keep me a little fuller, and I don't like to work out on a full stomach. I like to be content, but I don't like to have a full stomach. So whey protein and cereal, definitely probably one of my favorite pre-workout meals. And to be honest with you, I'll have it even post-workout. I'll come home even at nighttime or lunchtime, and my post-workout meal will be whey protein and cereal.
Yeah, I like it because it's easy too. It's very simple to make.
Very easy.
Shake up, pour it right over the cereal, and it's good to go. No mess, quick and easy. And it's also, like you mentioned a little bit too, you kind of touched on it. It's very, very light on your stomach, so you're not going to have like that feeling of, I just ate. Especially when you're bulking, that feeling comes up more and more.
Yeah, you could easily put down 100 grams of carbs from cereal and not feel full. Whereas if you were going to do it from like something like rice, you'll be bloated. You know what I mean? You'll feel really full. So I mean, I kind of use my cereal almost like a supplement. I almost store it like next to my whey protein powder. It's like, okay, here's my carbs, here's my protein.
Most people have dextrose. Pete has honey bunches of oats.
Yeah.
Do you prefer the regular one, or like did you try any of those other ones, Honey Bunches of Oats, like the strawberry ones? There's all these different flavors.
Strawberry is pretty good, actually. I had that recently. I was surprised because I didn't think I would like it. I don't like the cinnamon one, but the almond one is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's a little more high in fat, though.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's pretty good. But the original is definitely my favorite.
I wonder if there's Honey Bunches of Oats in other in like the UK, because I know we have some people who listen over there. If any of you in the UK, let us know. Hit us up on Instagram at ABFitness, at Jacked Fitness. And let us know if you actually have Honey Bunches of Oats.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up if you like Honey Bunches of Oats.
All right, muscle building meal number 8. So this is a pretty simple one. It's egg whites, fat-free cheese on a bagel. So this is basically an egg and cheese sandwich, right?
Yeah, I mean, you guys could really see how New York we are with the amount of bagels we keep talking about.
We actually should have changed bagel to like English muffin, because I actually like English muffins.
Yeah, I mean, they could be interchangeable, to be honest with you. Again, like I said, I don't have a preference on which bread source I have, but I do have a lot of sources of bread in my diet, whether it's bagel, even if it's a wrap, or if it's just bread, or if it's English muffin. I interchange most of them all the time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. I pretty much eat a lot of regular bread just because it's easy. You know, I don't like buying too much. I hate going to the store and buying so much different variety, because then it's almost like you don't know what to eat. So when there's less around and I see it, I'm like, all right, I'll just have this.
Yeah, again, it's more convenient. You know what I mean? I get a bunch of bread, I get wraps, bagels, whatever, and then I just save them, and whatever I decide having for the day, you know, if I feel like having meals, then you could bet it's probably going to be on a wrap, it's going to be on a bagel, it's going to be something similar.
Wait, so you buy the bagels in bulk, you put them in the freezer. So now I want a bagel. So what do you have to do?
Yeah, so I take out the bagel, I put it in the microwave to frost it, and then if I want to toast it, I'll put it in a toaster oven. So
does it come nasty like that?
No, as long as you toast it. You know, if you put it in the froster, yeah, it might sometimes it's a little wet just because of all the frost on it.
How long do you defrost it for typically?
If it's just a bagel, you know, you could even if you defrost it just for a minute, it's still going to be a little bit cold and frozen, but I'm going to then toast it, so that's usually enough just to cut it and put it in a toaster. But by the time it comes out of the toaster, you don't notice that it was frozen.
Oh, that's a good point. I got to try that.
Yeah, I mean, and it'll save you. You could buy in bulk. It's just more convenient, because a lot of times I'll buy stuff, if I don't freeze it, it'll end up going bad before I end up eating.
That's the problem too.
So I just put it right in the freezer, and you know the shelf life is longer.
So yeah, egg whites, fat-free cheese on a bagel, English muffin, whatever bread. It's just gonna be basically an egg sandwich, and pretty simple, pretty easy meal. You could interchange the fat-free cheese, you know, for regular cheese and different kinds of cheeses to give it different types of flavor. You could interchange the egg whites for whole eggs, but again, another quick, easy meal, cheap meal. You know, we had that bulking on a budget episode, and pretty much all these meals kind of fit that criteria, because all this stuff is cheap, easy, efficient, and quick. So, all right, let's move on to muscle building meal number 9, and it is going to be either ground turkey or beef or lean beef with cheese on a hamburger bun.
Yeah, I mean, this is
one of my favorite meals, actually.
This sounds like a cheat meal, but I don't really consider that a cheat meal. I actually consider that a very good meal when you're dieting. You know, it's depending on
satisfying.
Yes, it's definitely a very satisfying meal. Especially, I tend to eat this meal a lot when I'm reverse dieting, because I have more calories, and I'm still kind of recovering from my under eating phase, and getting stuff like that in really keeps me very satisfied, especially if I'm going pretty dense with the amount of meat that I'm eating. And I've been guilty of this lately. I've been doing, if I'm making a meal like this, I've been using like a whole pound of hamburger meat or ground turkey at a time. And I'm definitely overdoing it a little bit, but you know, I'm fitting it into my daily goals, so I'm not overdoing it in terms of you know, it hindering any type of progress that I'm going for. But it might not be necessary each meal. You know.
So you make one hamburger patty out of the whole pound?
Well, no, I'll usually, like, if I get like a package of ground beef, I'll usually split it. I'll just split it in half and make 2 of them out of it, and I'll end up eating the whole thing at once.
Yeah, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, is it optimal? The question is it optimal? You know, it might not be 100% optimal for muscle building, but if you don't have time later to eat that meal, or you're busy or you're on a schedule, then it's fine. You know, you're worrying about the minutia here.
Right, especially like if you're not in dieting phase and you're not trying to be optimal with nutrient timing and everything like that. If you're just kind of hitting your goals for the day, which kind of when you get deep into your off season, which I am right now, I'm definitely pretty deep into it. These little things aren't going to make huge differences, you know.
But the reason why I like this meal too, I especially like it in the summertime, because it allows you, especially when dieting, to actually feel like you're at a barbecue. You know, if you're at a barbecue, someone's house, whatever, you can get a turkey burger, have it on one hamburger bun. One hamburger bun's usually like 25 grams of carbs, so it's not a big deal. And you could still be on your diet, still be with everyone else. I remember last year when I was dieting, you know, during the summer, I was having, you know, multiple, like maybe 2 or 3, you know, 4-ounce burgers at a time. And, you know, I was satisfied. I was eating with everyone else, and I felt like part of the crew, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, whether you're dieting or if you're bulking, you could always fit in a lean burger or a turkey burger or something like that. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I usually use for beef, I will never go less than 90%, 90-10. And I usually don't buy anything higher than that. I actually found the 93.7 the other day that was on sale, so that was pretty happy with that as far as beef goes. But I'm not one to buy like the 96.4 or like the 98, whatever, different types of beef, because it's just too expensive. It's not worth it. For that point, I'd rather just get, you know, ground turkey because it's a lot cheaper and it's the same leanness.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like a 90 lean over a 96 as far as flavor, but I'm a fan of 96 just because of how lean it is, and the macros are very in favor of it being a protein source rather than a protein and a fat source. Once you start going below a 90 lean, it's almost going to be like a 50-50 split between protein and fat. So if you're not bulking or if you don't have a lot of calories to work with, that's usually not the best option.
All right, the last muscle building meal number 10. This is our quote unquote, we're nicknaming this. If you guys have it, please hashtag us on Instagram. Let us know, tag us in it. It's New York Muscle Radio's dieting shake. And it consists of whey protein, blueberries, frozen blueberries, almond milk, and a handful of, or 2 handfuls of spinach. It sounds gross, but trust me, the shake will turn green on you because of the spinach, but it is so good. The spinach in there, you don't even taste it, and this shake is full of vitamins, minerals, fiber, you know, protein. It's a good quality dieting meal that you could literally make. If you add enough blueberries, it'll taste like ice cream. That's how good it is.
Yeah, and it's going to be very voluminous for a shake. You know, protein shakes, if you're just mixing like 2 scoops of whey and water, or if you're doing almond milk or whatever, you can still usually just chug it down really fast, and it'll just feel like you had a little bit of you just had like a cup of milk. You know what I mean? But if you're doing something like this and you're restricting calories and you want to feel a little fuller on low calories, I like to do 2 scoops of whey protein powder with about 8 ounces of almond milk, and then a serving of blueberries, which is about 140 grams. And then if you throw the spinach in there or whatever, it's going to add even more volume to it. It's going to come out almost like, the way I like to describe the consistency is it's almost like ice cream, but it's not. If anybody's familiar with Wendy's Frosties, it almost has that consistency. It's like a little bit of a wet ice cream, but when you're
green.
Yeah, it doesn't look the best, but it tastes great. So don't let that distract you from feeling full and tasting good while you're dieting, or even if you're not. I mean, I like it as a snack even when I'm not dieting. I've been having stuff like that recently, just as a meal if I'm kind of in the mood for a shake instead of whole food.
What kind of almond milk do you normally get?
I usually go with almond breeze. That's usually
like what, like the plain flavor or vanilla?
I usually do unsweetened vanilla. I'm not a huge fan of the plain. You don't need it sweetened if you get like vanilla, but if you're doing plain unsweetened, there's nothing really, there's no flavor to it. But if you get vanilla, unsweetened is fine.
Yeah, I agree. Now, would you ever use a soy milk?
Hell no. I wouldn't even try that.
Do you ever try the other milks that there are?
No, I haven't, but I was going to get cashew milk once.
And there's rice milk. Rice milk is pretty good.
I've never had rice milk either, but rice milk is pretty dense in carbs, right?
It is.
Yeah, so I mean, almond milk is very low calorie, especially if you get the plain unsweetened. It's like 40 calories, whatever, per serving. It's got like 2 grams of fat, 2.5. That's pretty much it. So it's going to be low calorie. It's definitely going to be good. But I guess, yeah, if you want to get extra carbs in, then the rice milk is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm gonna YouTube that, how they make rice milk. How do you get milk out of rice?
I mean, the way they get the milk out of the almonds is they just basically soak almonds in water, and eventually it gets a thicker consistency. So it's probably the same thing. I don't know. I guess you got to let it soak in water. I never tried that, but
I make my own rice milk.
That's definitely not paleo friendly.
Yeah, definitely not. All right, well, that was our top 10 muscle building meals. New York Muscle Radio's first ever giving away our secrets. these are our secrets.
These really are our secrets. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a secret, but if you want to know what we do day in and day out, this is definitely a good insight to that.
Yo, man, I don't know. Since this, I'm craving a burger on the grill.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys didn't already know, both of us are fat kids at heart. We might not look like it, but we're definitely fat kids. So, if you've probably learned that by now. We like talking about food.
We do, but you know what? We're New Yorkers. We eat, and that's that. All right. Well, that was today's episode. Again, guys, head on over to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. You can click on the coaching tab if you're interested in some online coaching with us and working with us and taking yourself to the next level. Or you could pick up Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code, which is our ebook that we promote on our site. It's basically, if you want to eat whatever the hell you want to eat, this is going to show you how to do that, precisely for your body.
And still reach your goals.
Exactly. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, I'm at ABFitness, Pete's at Jacked Fitness. And make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a review because that actually helps a lot. And I like reading them too. It's actually pretty funny to go through and read. Actually, the next shout outs, that's what we should do. We should read the reviews. So if you want to shout out next time, go leave us a review on iTunes and we'll shout you out there. All right, big guy, it's your turn.
All right, guys, this is Pete Anthony with our Muscle Building Foods on New York Muscle Radio, and we're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.